Okay, so we're back in area, and we've got a little something that has been waiting a little while. It's time to get it opened up. Got a colleague with me, and I think it's time to do the honors, brother.
All right, let's see what we got here.
Using the endemic Benchmade to access the access points, you might say. And of course, it's interesting to, we've got a cautionary label.
Yeah, we'll see what that means.
Okay, so we've got 3 little devices that have come in from Olight, direct from thereof. Looks like they are the same model. Yeah?
Yeah, looks about the same.
This is going to be the S1 Baton by Olight. We'll let you do the honors of one of those.
All right, let's see what we got here. It's a nice little light.
Yeah, this is going to be very compact. I think you're going to. Now, you're not familiar with the Olight series,
I've
are you?
never seen an Olight.
Well, you're gonna definitely get a close look at one now. This, as an introduction, while we're finagling around with the box, go ahead and you can access. Now, I think there's going to be a spare O-ring there, so don't cut that. The retention piece that's there.
Okay.
Look at it through the back, and yeah, just slip that. I believe that's a spare O-ring that they use. I like it that they use a certain economy of packaging. Kind of makes it nice, that we're not dealing with stuff that's just going to be simply discarded. Now you notice something, go ahead and bring that back into frame a little bit. Something kind of an interesting little trick that it seems to be performing. One of the nice things about the Baton series is most of them have a magnetic point at the tail cap. So let's go ahead and open up the box here. You'll have some accessories, I believe, inside there.
All right, let's see what we got.
This, again, is the S1 Baton. I believe, according to my source, that this is a new model for them. This is not the S1A Baton using the AA battery. This will be using a 123 battery. I don't think... Nope, there's no batteries there. Is there a battery in that accessory?
There is not, just a lanyard, it looks like.
So labeling was inappropriate or inconsistent. So not one to be deterred, we will slip this is an extra 123. And you notice that the tailpiece has the magnetic component in the tailpiece there. This is probably aluminum. And as is usual with the Olight series, finish on the body of the light is beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. Well done, well executed. This is a flat knurling, so even though it's not pointy and poking into your skin, it's got a bit of texture. Go ahead and check it. Now, the other interesting aspect about the Baton series is the magnetized tailpiece. I believe the magnet can be removed if you don't want magnets, or if you're going to be around something that having magnetized components is a bad idea, which could occur in your situation.
Could.
But as you can see, the battery is retained by the tailpiece, or by the magnetized part of the tailpiece, and that helps with retention. So you don't necessarily have to turn this upside down and tap it out or slide it out. If you're in kind of a wet environment or a windy environment or an unstable environment, you've got the tailpiece retaining the battery there for you. So that's kind of a good situation. We'll go ahead and put this back into place, the tailpiece into place, and the Baton, and I'll let you play around with this a little bit later, but the Baton works by way of pressing the button here, and for some reason we're not getting an activation. Maybe I've got, okay, I didn't look at the
battery indicator.
The battery indicator would have been nice to take a little closer look at. So battery is still held by
retention.
Yeah, still relatively good retention. Of course, I knucklehead not looking closely enough at the exterior schematic, you might call it, and we'll press this. So a press and a release lights the battery up, or lights the light up. This has an LED, and this is the the reflector on this light is very short, and the LED, I believe that these are integral with the reflector. So you'll find that if you have to take apart the head, if it's possible to disassemble at that point. And of course, the caveat here is that we haven't really looked at the instructions. We just opened the box.
No,
so if the head, I don't think disassembles, at least not in the field. So if memory serves, the LED is integral with the reflector. It's a relatively short reflector, so we're not going to have a lot of throw with this. It'll be more of like an area light, which is, even though we've got daylight, you can see that we've got a bit of great illumination. And I believe that this will have an adjustability. You notice how it ramped up, and depressing it and holding again. We'll have to look at the instructions to see what the actual user interface, or the UI is on this. But you depress and then release. So this is being passed on to you, little brother. This is your light, and I'll expect some type of report in the future. I'll bring it over here on the screen. There you go. Play around with it just a little bit. It's going to be a nice little work light. You can use that, well, for different things that you're going to have to be doing here in the near future.
Right.
So I'll anticipate your objective findings on this within about a week or two, maybe 3.
I look forward to seeing what it'll do in the field.
Okay, and these are going to be passed on as well. And salute. Take good care and enjoy. Okay, it's been about 3 months since the introduction of the Olight S1 Baton, and after navigating some camera issues, I was allowed to stumble around in the dark, bumping my forehead. So do I have any bruises or contusions?
Yeah, just a little bit, but
bit of
we'll
blood.
let it slide for today.
Yeah, okay, just a light abrasion that will probably meld in with all the rest. So we've got a little comparison to do and a little update regarding the Olight S1A or S1 Baton, and some quick updates regarding the Olight S1A Baton. The S1 Baton is powered by a 123 battery. The S1A Baton is powered by a AA battery. Now, just go ahead and let my esteemed colleague describe a couple of things with some interjection by me with his experience over the last 3 months.
So when we met 3 months ago, you gave me this as a present for work purposes.
Now wait a minute, don't say present, because next thing you know, you're going to be asking for a ring.
So it was more of a graduation gift.
Okay.
As I transitioned into professional world.
Yes,
and
of sorts.
so this light has gone with me every day since the time that I was given it, and so far I haven't had to replace a battery yet.
Wait a minute, this battery is the original?
This is the original battery that we
back there, just as a confirmation. Keep it in the camera.
So it was we tested it with one that you pulled out of a camera, but after I went home, because that battery was dead, I placed this one in there.
Right.
And it has been the same battery since.
So you replaced it with the Surefire lithium battery. I think I had given you a battery that I wasn't sure about what the usage had been on that.
Correct.
Battery.
And when we were trying to demo it, we noticed that it wouldn't kick all the way up to the high.
To the turbo mode?
setting. Correct. And
or
so
whatever they call it.
When I went home, I got a new battery and threw it in there, and it has killed it ever since.
So now that Surefire, pardon the pun, right? That Surefire has that was new out of the box.
That was brand new, straight out of a box.
Very good. So now you've carried this daily.
Correct.
I think you've ascribed to some recommendations that I gave you about carrying a light with you even in the regular part of the world and in the daytime.
Correct.
Yeah, and you've utilized this. Would you say that you've used this battery the battery that's in this Olight S1 Baton? Would you say it's fair to say that you've probably used it to some degree almost every day?
Yeah, I would. I would say that I never realized before how many times I was going for a phone to use the flashlight function, or looking for another flashlight that was around the house somewhere, until I actually had one that I carried with me in my pocket that I could reach up and just click on and do whatever I need to do.
Okay, so yeah, you found the usefulness of having a light with you at all times.
Correct.
Now it's interesting. This is you told me a story, but this light actually did a little bit of I won't say a half gainer, but it took a trip across a room, didn't it?
It did. It did. Actually, just the other day, I was sitting down, and when I stood up, it was caught on my pocket, and it flipped it out, and it skated for 10, 15 feet across some concrete floor. So,
and not too much worse for the wear. You've got a little bit of the finish has been worn on the high points, basically. But
yeah.
So yeah, wow. I'm very impressed that now. What's the longest period of time that you think you've used this within a 24-hour window?
So I've actually run this light as a replacement for my.
You have another light that you carry.
I do.
And that's a.
And it's a guard dog.
Guard dog.
It's a 550 lumen, powered by. It's basically a rechargeable. What's the one that's like two 123s put together?
Oh, okay, right.
It's just like a
1780 or something
like that. Yeah, right. But the battery's super finicky. The charging system's super finicky. I've broken 2 of them in the last 3 months that I've had them.
Now the Bulldog is similar to another light?
The Guard Dog, yeah. The Guard Dog is a quasi replacement, a cheap replacement for like a Streamlight Stry-On. They're about the same dimension, same batteries are used in both, but one comes from Streamlight, one comes from Guard Dog.
Guard Dog, okay.
So
very good. And now, how is your honest, your candid impression? Have you compared the Guard Dog flashlight to the S1 Baton?
I have. In fact, the night that my Guard Dog died, I transitioned to this light almost immediately because of the low light factors that we were in, and all the guys that I was working with were questioning what kind of a light I had chosen, because the beam pattern that this one had put out was just about equivalent to what they were using
with their Guard Dogs.
With their Guard Dogs, and they were astonished by the fact that it was powered from this tiny little handheld device. They couldn't believe that it was a tiny light.
And of course, you've got features such as a lower light emission, a strobe. Does the Guard Dog have that as well?
The Guard Dog does have a strobe, but the strobe on the Guard Dog isn't at the highest power output setting. So the strobe on the S1 Baton is actually a more disorienting and useful strobe, in my opinion, compared to that of the Guard Dogs.
May have more throw to it if you're trying to use it as a signal device.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't subscribe very much to the whole disorienting strobe effect. I've seen people get agitated and make them a little more agitated than they were, and they have something to focus on at that point. But yeah, so this is outperforming this other light that you've been carrying on a regular basis.
Correct.
Not necessarily daily. So the throw on this, even though it's a small LED that is built in, there is no exterior lens. The lens is somewhat built in with where the LED is. You've not had any problems with that, with the throw, and it works really well as an area light as well?
Not at all. In terms of the Guard Dogs that we carry, the Guard Dogs will put a beam a little bit further out into an area than these will, but in terms of functionality within confined spaces or just seeing something that's within the immediate area, this light will put just enough of a beam, like as good of a beam out there as a Guard Dog will.
Right. So the Guard Dog has a little more throw for distance.
Correct.
Have you noticed any change or variance between the color output between this S1 Baton and the regular light that you carry? In other words, does the other light have a tendency to add more in an area that might be shaded, or in other words, does this illuminate those concealed areas better than that one, or have you noticed any
I can't
difference?
really comment on that. I haven't really noticed anything of that sort. It's just it's an astonishing light for how little it is.
Right, and you can carry. Basically, you could carry 2 additional 123 batteries as backup in your pocket or in a carrier, and almost be the same size as the light device itself.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Wow. So that's an excellent update on the S1 Baton from Olight. Very quick question as well: has this been submerged or exposed to any highly challenging environmental situations?
It actually has. One day I was looking for something in a water trough, and the light at the surface was dissipating too rapidly, and so I said, hey, what the heck, this thing's supposed to be sealed, and I shoved it underneath the surface of the water and used it underwater for approximately 2 minutes.
About 2 minutes, and the depth was what, about maybe a foot, arm's length?
About so? Arm's length.
Okay.
But pulled it out, shook it off, threw it back in my pocket, and it worked fine ever since.
Okay, and no evidence of any rust or corrosion on this thing. Of course, I would doubt that there would be. So, outstanding report on the S1 Baton. I'm just going to update very quickly on the S1A Baton, again by Olight. This is a AA battery. Of course, we've got the magnetic feature in the tail cap, and this light goes in positive forward towards the head of the light, or towards the bezel. As you can see, this is the original Olight battery that came with this light. So I've been using this for approximately 2 months as a backup to another light that I have been carrying for years. And I have to say that the throw on this and the user interface is every bit as good as any other light that I've carried. The only complaint that I have, and I won't call it a complaint, but the only situation that I've encountered is that I like to carry this one instead of in my back pocket, where I normally carry that other AA sized flashlight. I carry this in my weak hand front pocket, clipped to the rear area of the weak hand front pocket. And I have had 2 episodes where I've inadvertently pressed the power button and noticed that I've got some illumination under my shirt or emitting from my pocket. So I'm curious, have you had any inadvertent activations of the power light?
With this light, I actually have had one instance of inadvertent activation, and just like you mentioned, it doesn't take long, since it is light face up. It doesn't take very long to all of a sudden catch a glimpse of your light and recognize the fact that it's on, and then shut it off.
Of course, the bad thing about that is you could be in a situation, an environment where you get an inadvertent activation of the light, and you've just turned yourself into a bit of a beacon, which would be bad. But again, I think that if you're aware of that and conscious, you might just want to pocket the light completely and avoid the inadvertent activation, or clip the light to something more open, maybe a higher pocket or webbing if you've got that, or that kind of a situation. Very good. So we're going to continue with field use of these lights. Hopefully we'll be able to get some comparison shots in the future in the dark. As you can see, my light has extremely minimal wear on the finish. It's holding up very well, but of course I haven't launched mine across the floor yet. I've dropped it probably twice. So go ahead.
And mine is just got a little scratching of the anodization there, a little wear at the bottom edge where it's going to be bumping against things that you have in your pocket, a little bit of scratches on the anode up towards the bezel and the lens, and then just some pocket lint on the lens itself, which you can just take your finger and wipe out, and it's good to go.
Or blow it out, or just use a brush. Yep. And that's probably as far as a negative feature, that's probably the most negative feature I can think about, the way that this bezel is set up and the way the lens is set up. It is a depression, as you can see, and so therefore it does afford for things like lint or dirt, especially if you're in a really dusty environment, or if you're in a muddy environment. You might have to clear that lens. It might be a little more difficult to clear that lens than it would be to clear a flush or a flat lens. Okay, outstanding. Well, we'll be getting back to this after a bit. Thanks a lot. I appreciate the input. Don't take that the wrong way.
Okay.